Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Relix, and today we're going to review episode 16 of season 7 of My Hero Academia, and it was a really good one. Compared to the last couple that we've gotten, I've been giving it lower ratings, but this one had a big turnaround, and we had a actually decent episode that had a lot of bits of everything. Had action, had good dialogue, had a little bit of story development. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and this is the kind of stuff that I want to be seeing from the anime. And so moving forward, I hope this trend continues, because where they leave off is just getting us prepared for even more action, even more better scenes. And then of course, if you guys watch the episode, again, this is a spoilers review, so if you guys haven't watched it, please go see it and stop watching now. But obviously we've seen the episode, and some characters make a comeback, and that is exciting. So as you guys can see on the screen, the hero of the episode, for me at least, is Gentle Criminal. As you guys know, he is, or was, I should say, he was kind of a villain, in the matter of speaking, because he was trying to sabotage UA's festival. However, I wouldn't say like he was like a really bad guy, right? So he was arrested. His partner La Brava was also arrested. But this episode they make a comeback, and I'm very excited to see that. At first, I didn't really like them as characters. I thought it was just filler that really didn't matter. But it was okay. It's not like it was the worst episodes ever. But their characters come back in a great way, and I actually enjoyed it. So here we go. I'll get into why he's the hero later. Obviously, if you guys saw the episode, you know. But let's start off with what happened, in this episode. So obviously, first of all, we have to introduce who came in through the warp gate. Dobby on the left side coming in, prepared to fight his father. And then of course, Twice is now has returned from the grave. Obviously it's Himiko Toga, but she did have his blood. She did use his quirk now, and is creating a massive army of Twice that is just spreading around the entire land at the Gunga Villa site. As they call it, Sad Man's Death Parade. So that, like, the voice acting from Toga in this episode, just a couple lines, but absolute perfection. If you guys know, she is absolutely upset that Twice is dead. I guess she treated him like a brother. Hawks is the one who murdered him, and so she wants revenge. And the moment she has the opportunity, she basically switched her usual Himiko Toga self, that it's kind of like pretty giddy, and loves Uravity, Froppy, and Deku. But while they were fighting, she learns that the world's not accepting her. The heroes aren't taking a liking to her and don't understand her, just like the rest of the world. No one understands her or her feelings, or how she feels about things. And so now she's kind of clicked, and she's kind of in this straight up revenge mode. She's not happy, and she's going to do anything she can to help the villains win. And that includes no longer wanting to associate with Gravity or Froppy. So as she goes through the portal, she becomes Twice, and starts making multiple copies of him. We actually get to see that Gravity and Froppy come through and chase her down, which is quite interesting. We saw in the last episode that Froppy was injured, per se. However, I guess she's fine. She did get attacked by the high-end Nomu that could split its body apart and make itself into like thorns or some sort. We saw that Toga actually did save Froppy from being attacked, which is kind of weird. I don't know why that was, but I guess she is kind of injured, because the entire episode, Froppy's face is kind of like in a tired or distressed state, and so she couldn't really do much else except just help Gravity get through the warp gate. And then, of course, because her tongue's attached to her, she got pulled through as well. So they're going together, and Toga is down there somewhere. We actually get to see her face here. Very, very, very good shot of Toga and her quirk, kind of melting away off her face, just to show her anger. I loved this scene a lot. Very short, few seconds short scene, but I absolutely loved it. It was absolutely perfect design for Toga's face. She is absolutely upset, and she doesn't want anything to do with Gravity right now. She just pissed her off so much right now. So, as far as the heroes here, though, we actually get to see another Class 1B character appear. I think she actually appeared once before as well, but I totally forgot to mention her. This is She-Mage. She's the mushroom girl who spreads mushroom spores and makes people get mushrooms all over their bodies. And she's here. I don't know why necessarily she needs to be here. I won't lie, her powers aren't exactly strong in this situation, because one, we didn't really see too many villains be affected by this. Not to mention, I don't think her power would be very useful in the general sense, because this is war, right? Her powers aren't exactly meant for full-scale war situations. At least I don't think so, especially with the given circumstance where the Gunga Villa is just kind of flattened. There's no real force for her to hide, so she's just kind of out in the open. Kind of a odd situation for her to be in. Either way, kind of nice to see other Class 1B characters be involved, and she's one of them. So I guess she had to go somewhere. I guess this is one of those places that she could be involved. But either way, you guys can see the looks and expressions on the heroes' faces. Very not very enthusiastic now that all the other villains are here and taking over. And so the field is lit ablaze. I mean, we're talking like Dobby's fires are just absolutely taking over the area. As we saw at the other site where Dobby came from, the entire city was burned. Dobby's flames are just absolutely uncontrollably hot. And we're talking, face melting hot, because we saw that his flames are able to melt metallic statues of All Might. And so, obviously, if people are still in this area near the flames, they will possibly be burned alive. And so, this forces the heroes to actually have to retreat. We actually get to see Pixie Bob set up earth walls, like mud walls. We get to see the other heroes retreat. And, of course, even in the bottom left corner of this picture, you guys can see that the heroes have captured villains, but they also remained there to help the villains be extracted from the site, because if they don't, they will be burned alive. And that is something that's kind of important to note. It's very minor, but it is something that's there, which I kind of don't agree with too. But the fact is, the heroes don't want the villains to just die, and that they're still doing their part in their hero work in keeping them alive, not necessarily murdering them, and will do anything to help them get out of there safely. And that is something I kind of disagree with, in a matter of speaking, just because they don't have the time to at least I don't think they should have the time to evacuate everybody. Save yourselves as well as the other heroes involved. That's kind of more important than saving the people who try to fight you and kill you. I mean, we're talking about guys who are just trying to murder all the heroes, get rid of all pro heroes. I mean, you really think they would do the same? I don't think so. And, now that Dobby's here, I mean, Dobby's an uncontrollable maniac at this point, and his flames are probably going to be able to kill everybody here. So I'm pretty sure saving these generic villains is not going to be a good thing for the heroes. We'll see if it plays a part later, but again, it's a minor thing. It's just something that they just kind of threw in there to show that the heroes still have good hearts. But personally, I don't like that. I don't think that's needed. I think the villains should just kind of die out here. They chose their side. They chose what they wanted to do, and I don't think that's something the heroes need to really take care of. In any case, in the bottom right picture, we see Earphone Jack and Tsukuyomi regroup with their classmates and talk about the situation. We even get to see a little scene where Froppy is concerned about Earphone Jack's missing ear, and she says that basically, hey, if this is what I get for going against the Demon Lord, then I'm fine with it, because obviously there's been way worse situations, including how she lost the ear in the first place, and that's because of the giant quirk cannon. I don't know what to describe All For One's cannon as, but that's what destroyed her ear in the first place, and to be lucky to come out of that alive was just insane for them as students, as kids, right? So that's something that she obviously will learn from and be able to take into the next battle. But overall, I think this fight has started to turn against the heroes. Obviously, All For One and Dobby being there is just a bad situation. So I don't see how any of the heroes will be able to get out of this alive, in a matter of speaking. I know All For One, we get to see him, trying to retreat, but Dobby's flames are just too hot, and we even see Endeavor still fighting. Bare fists, no flames. I mean, he's missing an arm. A chunk of his torso is missing from his side, and yet he's still destroying twice his left and right with his fists. Heck, he even uses his injured arm a couple times as well to knock him down. So it is an interesting sight, seeing that he's basically dead. And no offense, but this Endeavor will die. I personally believe he will be dead here. There's not much else he can do. He's wounded. He's kind of out of energy. Obviously, per usual anime tropes, he's going to have a big comeback, have unlimited power, and probably use it to kill Dobby at some point. But Dobby's just standing there above, kind of looking like death itself right now. I mean, if you look at him, this just looks disgusting. And again, as we saw in the previous episode, that before he left, Vernon mentions that there's something odd going on because his body shouldn't be able to withstand the heat that he puts off. So again, a little bit of a inconsistency here. We know that Dobby should burn himself alive with his powers, and yet he does not burn himself alive here. I mean, even though his body is absolutely crisp. First of all, how is his hair even there? Like, it makes no sense. His skin burns, but it's not his hair. He should be bald at this point. He should look kind of like All For One at this point. I don't know. I am a little concerned about what's happening here. At first, I appreciated the Dobby character, but now it's kind of getting ridiculous. I'm not liking it at all. And again, like I said before, him being able to copy Shoto's ability with the phosphor ability, I don't know. I just don't like it. There's what is it even doing? What is the point of it? To keep him alive? I don't know. It's something that's just not making any sense right now, and that's why I'm not liking the Dobby character arc for this war. But we do get to see All For One talk about what's happening, as well as what's happening with Dobby and his father, and saying that everything's going according to plan. As far as that is concerned, what I don't know. We don't know what All For One's real plans are. Apparently, he still has things up his sleeve, and even though he used Eri-chan's reverse quirk, everything's going according to plan. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, but that's the way he feels. And in doing so, he decides, okay, now's the time. We got to get out of here. I got to go to Tomura and make sure he is okay. So as he flies away, he tries to, we see here, he's in a blaze of his own kind of radiant powers. He has extra, purple lightning quirk that allows him to fly faster, I suppose. But we also get to see Hawks comes in and clashes with him once more, in the air. and we get to see this big clash. We can see here on the left side of the impact, All For One just going head first into the feather sword of Hawks. Obviously, All For One has a barrier set up so he can't take damage, and because of this, Hawks gets injured. We see a head injury here. We don't really see the cut. It's obviously in his up on his head, in his hair, but a streak of blood comes streaming down his face, and it's like, you're outmatched, Hawks. You're injured too. You're kind of out of powers, and All For One's only getting stronger by the second because of the reverse. But he still decides to go head on, because if someone has to fight him, it might as well be the best heroes in the world, or at least in Japan. And Hawks is number 2, Endeavor's number 1. And even then, Hawks is telling Endeavor, you need to stop Dobby no matter what. Like, even if your life depends on it. And so, All For One laughs at this, because he's like, you're telling a dead man to fight his son? Like, that's hilarious. And so he's like, okay, well, I'll entertain you too, and we'll fight. And then we end this location scene with Endeavor's eye seeing Dobby charge right at his face. So next episode, I am expecting this to take place, and hopefully we get to see the end of this father and son conflict, because like I said, I'm getting tired of the Dobby character. What he's doing right now with his powers is just too absurd. He needs to die. They both need to die. The Todoroki arc is over. Let's end it right here. Shoto obviously will play a part in some form. Who knows? Watch. Next thing you know, the phosphor ability is probably going to be like a double-edged sword, and it's going to kill Dobby in the end. And in the end, Shoto is going to be like, "Yep, that was me. I did that." I would not be surprised if something like that happened. That's just me speculating. Obviously, I don't know anything that comes ahead, but we'll see. Overall, this is the way the scene ended, with Dobby flying in Endeavor's eyes, and we'll see what happens next time. So as for now, moving on to the other section of this episode, we actually get to resume what happened with President Mike coming through the warp gate. Kurogiri is summoning him through and at the coffin in the sky. We get to see, by the way, I don't know if these are going to be important, but by the way, we see a hand, the hand that Spinner used to wake Kurogiri up. We see the hand come through in this warp gate. Alright, keep that in mind too. But President Mike is coming through as well. And then of course we'll see in just a moment that Twice comes through and is pouring through uncontrollably. Now I don't think this should have been possible right away, just because Kurogiri is acting from Himiko Toga's location. Okay, I guess that's true. I don't know, it just seems too simultaneous, because Kurogiri was released first at the hospital, but President Mike is just now falling through, and you're telling me this army of Twice came through with him at the same exact time? Maybe by like a minute's worth, a wait would have been nice, but no, they come through at the same time, which, again, time is a little bit of an issue with this show, but that's okay. For the obviously bigger plot, we can ignore that. Either way, Twice is coming through in a parade of death, and we actually get to see this knocks Monoma down, and he smashes his nose into the ground, give him a nosebleed and everything, and he loses concentration. He is forced to blink from the pain, also because Manuel and Eraserhead are also taken down. And so, because of this, we now get to see that Shigaraki's quirks are back. Now, as far as what was happening with Shigaraki, I don't know. This is kind of weird. I mean, he got his butt whooped by Deku in the last couple episodes, but then all of a sudden, this big, growth thing starts to form in his chest, and all of a sudden, we get to find out it's just him bursting out of his body. Like, it was pretty gross looking. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but he basically molted, as you know, I think as Deku put it, he molted his body, and in doing so, you know, he comes out bursting, as you guys can see in the bottom picture, like bursting out in a new flesh. I don't know how to describe, like, it is really weird, but bursting out of this body, this old body, caused an explosion of sorts. Not necessarily like a regular bomb kind of explosion, but like explosion nonetheless that kind of destroyed the surface area of the coffin in the sky. And in doing so, it took a lot of damage, and we get to see that the coffin in the sky is actually incapable of staying up in the air. The coffin crew actually goes and examines the damage, and we get to see them tell us that, you know, the barrier's down, some of the pillars that make the barrier are damaged and cannot be repaired. They're in fact missing, possibly, and the levitation for the coffin in the sky has been damaged. There's nothing they can do. And so we get a callback to a few episodes ago where I mentioned that Skeptic, you know, he was trying to hack into the coffin in the sky, and then they just dropped that plot, right? Well, it comes back now. All of a sudden, it just randomly comes back. Now that, I guess, the coffin in the sky is back up 100%. He couldn't get in, even though it said he did. But now with all the systems and protection systems down, the coffin in the sky is vulnerable. Skeptic actually does succeed in hacking into the coffin in the sky, starting to turn off all the systems and preventing the heroes from doing their work. Mandalay realizes this and is relaying information throughout the entire area. You know, the coffin in the sky crew, Momo, who's still trying to make all the materials needed to repair the coffin, Mandalay in the engineering room with the power source people, and then of course the other heroes who were taken down by Twice, Deku, and then of course relaying the situation with Tomura. So it's an interesting, an interesting situation the heroes are finding themselves in. Obviously, it's not looking so good, even for all the other locations we've seen around that we've seen. You know, obviously there's a couple locations in Japan that we have not been focusing on, but the heroes are starting to lose their edge in the war, and it's not looking so good. This is all kind of just adding up together, and it's not looking really good for them. The villains are starting to take over even more, but we get to resume with Shigaraki here. Oops, I left that first one up. There we go. So we get to see Shigaraki kind of molted. I mean, you see the flaps of skin just still hanging off his torso there. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of weird. It's just absolutely weird. But I do prefer this way. The big muscle growth covering Shigaraki was not working with me. It was kind of like a cheap power-up, you could say. But this is the way it should be. I think they should just skip that. Just don't let that happen again. But we also get to see that his arm is back to normal. It's no longer this giant growth that's spreading out around the coffin. So I wonder if that's something that they're going to play with as well. Is that going to come back, in a moment now that his quirks are activated? He can do a lot more with it. I don't know. We'll see. But for now, we get to see that Deku is in a dire situation. The decay quirk is now back. So we don't know how that's going to play a part, but it is back. All of his quirks are back. And Deku is realizing this, but cannot move. And he thinks about the others in the coffin. If the coffin crashes, then these people are all dead. Everyone inside is going to die. And that's just on his mind. And he can't breathe right now. For his gear shift quirk that he was using in the prior episodes, it takes a big toll on him, and his cells can't get the oxygen they need to help him basically operate his body, because it's not normal for him. He's not used to it, and so he's incapable of moving at the moment. And that is just leading to the coffin just continuing to crash instead of him being able to do something. Now, could Deku do something in this situation to save the coffin? I don't think so. I don't think he should be worrying about that. It's not his job after all. But he is concerned about it and worried about all the lives that will be lost. But then we get an unexpected return. Honestly, didn't see it coming, but we get to see this picture on one of Skeptic's screens, and obviously we know who it is. Based on the voice, as well as the silhouette on the picture, we know who it is. It's La Brava, and she says that she finally found him. He is one trick you gotta find, and apparently they know each other, which is quite interesting. We get to see La Brava come back in full form. She returns, working with the police inside their headquarters, and we get to see that, they have a history. Now, it's not UA, but La Brava apparently was, she hacked into, or she pranked. I don't know we don't really get information other than they know who each other are. She infected a company, perhaps, with this meme of sorts, and he remembers what it is, and so he's like, don't infect my computer systems with this. But obviously she's not gonna listen, so she does. He can't do anything, so he starts unplugging the main computers, and I believe his main computer that he is holding contains information about UA specifically and its defenses, and therefore he secures it and tries to escape now that his location has been compromised by La Brava. And so that's kind of an interesting fact. Again, I don't like the Skeptic character either. I think he's a weak character. So far, the only thing he's really done is, get the PLF members together, as well as just suddenly take down the coffin in the sky. It wasn't really even him who took it down. It was really Shigaraki's energy blast that did it. And so he just kind of made sure that it stayed that way, continues to fall towards the ocean. So I'm not sure if he really was necessary to be in the war, but that's just the way it is. Either way, he starts to retreat out of the cave, trying to make sure he gets away. However, we get to see that there is a team that was nearby, just happens to be nearby, I suppose. Don't know what they were doing, but they're nearby, and they actually find Skeptic's location with the help of La Brava, and they are there to arrest him. We get to see some of the... Again, a lot of returning characters in this episode. But Miss Joke from Ketsubutsu Academy High School and Yo Shindo, also known as Grand, they make their return here. I don't know if the other members of the Academy were going to be here, but these two were the ones that were shown, and as well as Hound Dog. They are all here and ready to take Skeptic in to custody. And Hound Dog even makes a little mention of how I don't know why he was taking his mask off, by the way. That was kind of weird. But he also mentions that it's ironic how they have to put all their trust into La Brava and the other man who will make his appearance just, real soon. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of ironic that he was the one who chased them down at UA, and all of a sudden now he's got to work with them. And move back to the coffin. Because of the situation, unfortunately, there's no way to stop the coffin from falling. Even with Skeptic gone, they can't do anything. So Mandalay tells the Power Source guys to come out, except for one. The one generic hero that we didn't get a name for, he's still inside powering the coffin, apparently. But the other three, Charge Bolt, Yu, and Comic Man, they all come out with Mandalay and prepare to fight. And they see Twice. Denki's very funny. He's like, Twice is here? Like, what is he doing here? And you guys can see there's a bush of Twice on the top right corner. And basically, they're attacking the command center. Obviously, they got Manual, Phantom Thief, and Eraserhead pinned down, as well as President Mike, who should be there as well. But then, by the way, bottom picture, I don't know what happened with my lighting. I took the picture, and all of a sudden, everything became light. I kind of like it. The scene is actually very dark. It's dark thunderclouds, rain. The jets themselves are supposed to be black, but it kind of came out white. I don't know why that happened. It was really weird, but I do like it. It adds a little bit of a different perspective on the picture. Either way, sidetracking here. The jets themselves, they can't shoot on the twice because the other heroes are there, and or the command center is right there, so they don't know what will happen if they shoot their lasers. It might damage them or kill all their allies, and it's just something they don't want to do, and so they can't help. Thankfully, though, one of the pilots sees someone in the water, and all of a sudden, we get the gentle criminal return. Obviously, if Labrov is back, we know that Gentle is going to be back. And so he's bouncing his way on the ocean towards the coffin in the sky. And we obviously get to see that Labrov's love for him is still strong as ever, as it is enhancing his powers even more. And so this was a interesting comeback. I don't know, I was like, this was never even hinted to us, right? So what's forcing this comeback to happen now? And I was actually thinking to myself, should I be critical about this or should I not be critical about this? And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna let it slide. The villains have all of a sudden gotten power-ups of their own just for no reason. Let's let the heroes have a moment and just have something just randomly come up and save their butts, because why not? If the villains did it, I'll let the heroes do it too. So inconsistency for both sides, but you know what, I guess it balances out. We get an actual flashback here explaining how Gentle is now being involved in this war, back to when the Tartarus prison was being destroyed and all the prisoners were escaping, including All for One. We actually have other prisons around Japan that also had breakouts, including this one called Mikuzu Prison. We get to see there's a bunch of guys here. A high-end Nomu is here. I believe this is the high Nomu that breaks the jailbreakers out of this prison. And we get to see there's an army of soldiers here with guns too, but they're absolutely no match for the high-end Nomu, and I think they all die. We get to see them fight it, but we don't see any of the soldiers actually survive. We get to see the prisoners as well. They see the exit and they're like, "This is our chance. We can escape. We can get out." And we even see them mentioning what they're gonna do when they get out. I'm gonna take revenge on that one guy who put me here. Oh, this one guy over here, he's still alive. I'm gonna take him out. Oh my God, I want girls. All these people are just going crazy. Let's get out of here. Let's do what we want. This is our chance to get out. Except we have one guy stand in the way of all of these villains, and he's not afraid to stand up for what he believes in. And we get to see his face is absolutely terrified. It's kind of hilarious. He is absolutely terrified, and yet Gentle Criminal stands up and says, "Is this really what you want for yourselves?" And basically asks them, can we not change? Can we not just not do this, not be bad guys? And all of the criminals are like, what are you talking about? Get out of our way. And so they charge at him with their quirks. They have quirks, and they charge at him. Quirks activated, ready to fight. And then come morning, we actually get to see that all of the jailbreakers here were captured. At least that's the idea. I don't know if it's 100% captivity, but we get to see Gentle Criminal is beaten and battered, but still alive, and he ended up capturing all of the prisoners there at Mikuzu Prison. And he's just sitting there, waiting for the police to show up. And we get to see that Gordy is the one who shows up. And he asks, he has this face what the heck just happened here? And all he could do is just walk up to Gentle and be like, what is it that you want? That's pretty much all he asked. What is it that you want? Why did you do this? And the only thing that he wanted was to see La Brava. That was his only wish. and he got it. I mean, you can't just capture all these prisoners and prevent all of them from breaking out and not get reward for it, right? And even Gordy understands that. And like I said in the beginning, it's not like he was a really bad villain or anything like that. He was just a guy who wanted to do something, right? Something that would ruin everyone else's enjoyment. But it's not like he was doing it to be like a villain, right? It's just misunderstood. And unfortunately, it got him, it persuaded him to be not a very good guy, but he wasn't a villain. And so he found happiness doing what he finally wanted to do. And because now that he was reunited with La Brava, he did something for the hero side. He is happy, and he is finally realizing his dream. And because he is happy, La Brava, she says that I am even more happy. Her love and his love, compounding together is just making their powers even stronger. And that leads to the ultimate attack from Gentle Criminal. And that is, as he put it, Gently Super Lover. And it is his ultimate move, I'm assuming. Obviously, we know that he can transform air and make it into, like, reflective platforms and stuff like that. Well, it creates a bubble, like a trampoline, per se, as they mentioned in the episode. And it helps to protect the coffin in the sky from falling into the ocean. As they put it, they said it was falling towards land, but we can clearly see it's still over the ocean. And he uses his powers to push it back up, or at least hold it up in the sky. He's underneath it completely, holding it up. And this is a great moment. I thought the music was great. I thought the dialogue was absolutely superb here from both him and La Brava. And the relay from Mandalay saying what happened here, and we get to see the results of his ultimate move, and she's like, she transmitted to Deku, it's like a trampoline made out of air. And the moment that Deku heard that, he realized that it was Gentle Criminal, and he started to tear up because he made his comeback, and it was absolutely amazing. Gentle Criminal, ever since he was younger, he wasn't deemed like someone who could be a hero. So when he was just a regular citizen and he saw trouble, he wanted to help someone who was falling, and instead got that person either, I forget if it was killed or just really injured, but he ended up doing something wrong instead of helping, and that's all he wanted to do. And this is when he quoted, I just wanted to help. And he tells, he's just like talking in his thoughts, obviously, but he's like, young man, are you still trying to save someone's smile? Because that's all he's doing now. Gentle Criminal is just trying to help, and this is a huge comeback for him, a redemption. He is now, without a doubt, he is now living his dream, and he is now a hero. At least in my eyes, I think that, and I think this was absolutely amazing. This is one of the best moments, at least for me, this is one of the best moments in the war arc. This is a great redemption right here for both him and La Brava, and I think, it's going to speak volumes. And it definitely hits a, sensitive spot for Deku, because he connected with them. And I think that's absolutely amazing to see that he still remembers what happened in the past, and that this can still change people. And, Gentle Criminal is now, in a so to speak, a hero, and it's absolutely amazing to see. However, we're still not done. Just because the coffin in the sky is done falling doesn't mean we're not out of danger. And the other One For All members are mentioning to Deku that, hey, the quirks are activated. He's going to use his decay quirk. Tomura is going to use his decay quirk, and regardless that the coffin's being held up, he's going to break it. He's going to destroy everything and everyone here. And so he's kind of like twitching Shigaraki is. He has no full control over his body just yet, but his hand is gradually reaching for the ground, twitching around, and Deku is still incapable of moving. He realizes he can't make it. There's nothing he can do, including if he does charge, he'll probably get touched and decay. So he can't really do anything. There's nothing he can do in this situation. But then all of a sudden, bam! The hand gets shot, blown out off of his hand or his arm, and we see this trail, this bullet trail come through. Hand rips off, and completely rips off, and it goes flying. And we get a close up on the bullet. If you guys recognize this bullet, you guys know what's coming next, right? And I was like, no way. Another character making a return. Another redemption moment for another character. And so we get to see the hands fall. So obviously with his quirks back, this probably means nothing, to be honest. Shigaraki should be able to just regenerate his hand that he just lost, as well as just be fine after this. However, it did pause him for a moment. Now, what's preventing him from just using his other hand? I don't know. It's kind of funny, but his hand is missing now. I mean, look at it. His hand's on the ground. By the way, seeing the right above it, that's another hand. If you guys remember, I mentioned earlier that one hand Kurogiri brought with him was next to President Mike. And that was the only hand that Spinner had with him and placed on Kurogiri to awaken him. So where did this one come from? This one also came from the warp gate that Kurogiri formed when he came to Shigaraki's side. And this one fell out in another scene. And I was like, why did this one show up too? So I think to myself, this hand is going to play a part. I don't know how, but it's going to play a part. Now, why is there more than one, perhaps? Who knows? Maybe he came from another location and someone else is going to make an appearance as well. We don't know. I could be reading into it too much, and maybe it was just an error. But the fact is, there's two hands, and I don't know why. So we'll see if this is the same hand or if it's a different hand. How is it going to play a part? We'll find out in the future episodes. Maybe it means nothing. I don't know. But as far as what's in front of us, like I said, his hand's ripped off. By the way, it looks kind of just like the other one, just regular fleshy colored. It's kind of funny. There's no blood. And so his hand's ripped off, and we get to see that he's injured. And we get to see Detective Tsukachi, and he basically explains to his fellow policemen that, they need to kind of look outside the box. It's not, just black and white. There's some gray areas, and those gray areas, we need to put our faith in them. As he says, and I quote, "We need to look deep in their hearts for their origins, as All Might has once said to him." And we get to see a scene of All Might actually leaving the police headquarters. So this could be a moment where All Might will make an appearance on the battlefield. But he says that we need to look inside these guys and for their origins. And to finish the episode, we get to see where that bullet came from. It's none other than Lady Naga. And she is alive, albeit wrapped in bandages and all that. But she is alive, not burnt to a crisp, and she is back in action. She sniped Shigaraki's hand from all the way in the city, I suppose, and, basically saved the day. Now, like I said, why can't Toma just put the other hand down? I don't know. It's, plot convenience. Let's let the redemption stories take place here and enjoy the episode. Absolutely amazing episode. Not the best, but it's still a great episode. I really enjoyed it, and therefore, rating wise, I'm just going to give it a straight up 8 out of 10. It was a great episode. Can't really say much more about it. It was just great redemption stories for a lot of characters, a lot of reappearances from characters, and including characters that we saw, like other heroes who we saw come through the warp gates and were already involved, but they didn't see we didn't see them in action, or they didn't get any dialogue, like Pixie Bob or Kamui, or some of the other people. She she talked, even though she wasn't really doing too much. We get to see the other heroes have their moments in the spotlight. Miss Joke reappeared as well. I was wondering if those guys are going to get involved as well, and they are. So that was the first time we got to see them. But overall, I was very pleased with this episode. Great dialogue, great characters, great stories, great plot progression. The only thing I am concerned about is, again, the location where Gravity and Froppy came from. Now that they're there, how does that affect that location? Again, like I said before, Gangorka was supposed to be fighting that one high-end Nomu, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. That injured Froppy. Well, Froppy is okay now. So it's like no heroes are being injured in any sort of form, and the heroes aren't doing their job there. I don't know. That location specifically, I'm a little bit concerned about. It's just not very consistent as far as the rest of Japan is concerned. So they really need to resolve that. If they're not going to resolve it, then just ignore it. Just don't even go back to it. I don't even want to see it anymore. I don't even care if you have to say, oh look, Gangorka just suddenly appears here because he won. Just don't go back. I really don't want to resolve that anymore. It's done. Go somewhere else. But as far as the episode's concerned, that's where we leave off. Great episode. I enjoyed it. Can't wait for next week's. And yeah, let me know in the comment section what you guys thought of this episode, because this one was a really good one. But that's it for now. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But that's it for me. Hope you guys have a great day. Have a great week. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.